Hello, and welcome to another episode of Klaus's Random Thoughts, a series of videos where I talk about new games I have played recently and give you my thoughts on them. Today's game we're going to be talking about, I've already talked about in a great extent on a podcast I'm a part of. However, I want to continue talking about this because it is a game I feel deserves the attention it doesn't seem to be getting. And what game could that be, you ask? That game is called Pumpkin Jack. Pumpkin Jack is a classic 3D platformer that has the vibes of medieval. If you know what that is, very much like the stereotypical Halloween vibes, right? Kind of spooky environments, stormy nights, bats, pumpkins, shit like that, right? It very much has that vibe, but its own personality on top of that. Like any other 3D platformer, it has a bit of a nonsensical but very fun story. The whole story is that Satan got bored, invaded Earth. Earth was like, the humans of Earth was like, ah shit, we need a champion to stop him. They chose a wizard. Satan was like, nope, you ain't gonna stop me. So he put a human spirit in a pumpkin, threw it on Earth to deal with it. And it gets a bit crazier, not by much, but a little bit crazier as the story progresses to get to that conclusion. But it's a lot of fun along the way, and that's why it reminds me a lot of those like old classic games. It's like it makes no sense, but I love it nonetheless. For all the characters, none of them are voice acted except for one, which is like a narrator that sums up what you've done already in that level and up to that level, and a little bit into what you're gonna be encountering next. However, due to the design and dialogue of the characters, you know what they sound like. Like Pumpkin Jack is a guy with a scarecrow body and a pumpkin head. And you just look at him and you read his dialogue, you know he kind of sounds like, well, maybe it's different for everyone, but for me it sounded like a bit of a gruff and a bit of a dick and like that type of kind of deep voice. And I feel like every character has that. You know what they sound like in your head. Now, speaking of designs, let's get into the graphics of the game. The graphics very much has its own kind of cartoony style, but I think is very well done for an indie game. Every character has their own unique designs. Each level is different and unique with their own like touch to it, which is very well done, and including every boss has the same thing. Like, there's one boss who's literally just a giant skeleton with armor that makes him look fat. However, he has pieces of wood that keeps his head attached to his body, and his head is hanging on a chain from that wood. And I think that's probably one of my favorite designs for it. Yeah, I think that's all I really have to say on it. It's very well done. Like, if you're seeing it right now, I'm hopefully showing it. It has its own unique style, and like, I feel like that's very important in a 3D platformer like this. As for the gameplay very snappy, in which it should be for a 3D platformer. It needs to be because you're jumping and all that. And like 3D platformers, there's a form of combat in it. The combat is determined by the different weapons you get, and they're fairly simple. Like each weapon is just one button mash if you're on the ground. And if you jump, which, by the way, there's a double jump, and only on the double jump, by the way, you can do a ground attack, and then you can do a roll in attack, which is a button and then do attack, I believe. I don't know. I never really did any of the rolling because I found this game to be very easy in the gameplay department of it, but it was fun nonetheless, fighting enemies and, going through the waves of them and using whatever weapon I had at that point. Which is, I guess, is a negative, that you get several weapons, which I need to explain, are a shovel, makes sense, you're a scarecrow, you'd be in a garden. A spear, which, okay, kind of Halloween, it's got a skull on it, glowy eyes, alright, that kind of makes sense. A talking magical sword, that's in shards that makes you all floaty and all that. Okay, we're going a little crazy. Then a shotgun. Shotgun. Yes, shotgun. Oh, okay. And then we go back to normal a little bit with a scythe that kind of reminds me of the spear. And then the last one is literally just a magic spell that's supposed to duplicate the crow, which is a buddy that talks to you every once in a while, which I guess is part of the combat as well. press a button and he'll shoot out like, you know, it's like a bullet. You know, like he'll bash his head against the enemy. That's the gameplay of it. And also, all those weapons, I said in order of when you get them. It goes from makes sense to straight crazy and back again, which, okay, which is part of the nonsense of this game, and I really like that about it. It's fun, makes me laugh, and it's just really good, you know, on that. However, as you get every new weapon, there's no real reason to go past any of the older ones unless it's like preference. Like, I like the sword, so I played the sword a lot. And I just really didn't switch off that. And I feel like that's like one of the few negative points on that for this game. So, after all that said, and if you're watching and all this, you're probably thinking, this is like nothing really special here. It's just like a 3D platformer with medieval vibes. Okay, whatever. Probably is a fun time. It's a little on the price side. It's also short, by the way. I will say that. It's a fairly short game, but I enjoyed it no matter what. I think I could have beaten it within one stream, about 6-7 hours, something like that. But with everything I said, I need to stress the fact that this is a game made by one person. He started making this when he was 18, and he finished it when he was 23. He's had to scrap it like 7 times or something like that. But just looking at it and knowing all that, it's kind of crazy to think about that one person made this game. That was 23 when he finally released it. He accomplished more in his life than I ever will, I feel. And that's really cool on him that there's people like this. I think it's like one of the first 3D games that is made by one person. Every time I think about one-man dev teams, they're always 2D or more of like they're 2D in like kind of 8-bit or 16-bit. You know, nothing too ambitious in the graphic department. However, this is just like a full-fledged 3D game that's snappy, looks good, personality and all that, made by one person. And that's part of the reason why I need to talk about it more, because I feel like there's probably people out there that'll probably look at this game. It's like, oh, I could play this maybe around Halloween time every year or something like that. And I feel like it needs to get that publicity. It has that very much that feeling like how I feel about Costume Quest. You're really only going to play those around Halloween to get those feelings, because it just gives you that Halloween vibe and just feels comfy. And that's why I want to talk about it. Anyway, that's all I got to say for this video. Hope you liked what I had to say about Pumpkin Jack. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. If you didn't, hit that dislike button. If you want to see more content like this or anything else I make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And if you want to be notified, hit that bell as well. But yeah, thanks so much for all your continued support these last few weeks, man. As the Among Us series has been uploaded. Also, sorry if it's been a bit patchy on how that all is. I'm going to try to get better at that. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into those videos and everything. It really does mean a lot. Yeah, thank you so much for the continued support. It's amazing. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next video. Have a great day and happy Halloween.